So today I actually decided I'm not going to scream. I'm just going to relax, and what I'm going to do is a bit of a fun video where I'm going to talk about the books I read in 2021 so far. And it's not like some of them here are not the first time, like Lord of the Rings, Name of the Wind, not the first time. But the rest of these books are actually the first time. So I'm going to rank them from BS made for Satan, which is really awful, like so bad. I'm having to suspect that the author worshipped Satan and they were trying to torture me and bring hell onto this world. And then this one is just torture. This one is disappointing, and here is mediocre, half, which is like better than mediocre, because mediocre is mostly bad. This one is I'm not sure about this one, okay? And this one is fun read, and this one is so good I lost my hair. So yeah, and you think a book cannot be so good that I lose my hair, but you would be wrong. You would be very, very wrong. Okay, so the way we will do this is we will start from the bottom up. This is bad. I just realized I should remove this book. I need to remove Lord of the Rings from the list. It's just going to be at the top. Okay, Lord of the Rings is no longer in competition. Now, flat out, the single worst book I read in this year has to be Zenith. There is nothing redeemable about this book. There is not a single thing that is redeemable about it. Not the protagonist, not the characters, not the world building, not the prose. The prose was extremely awful. Not the way it is edited, not the way it is structured. Nothing about this book says it was made by competent people. In fact, I am 100 because I did some research, and it turns out the people who made this book are just, large YouTubers. Go figure. They just wanted to cash in on the audience. This book is so bad, it does not classify as part of, it was not produced by humans. It was produced by, I don't know, but it's not good, basically, is what I'm trying to say, okay? Yeah. And that is that. Zenith is the worst book I read this year. And the second worst book, this one, The Fifth Sorceress. It was not torture. It was not like, so bad as to be with Zenith, but it was so bad that I felt extreme pain reading this book, because coming back to it, picking it up again was very difficult. And it did not help I was reading this alongside Words of Radiance, because I like to read things together. I like to read 2 books, maybe 3 books together, so that I never have to really struggle with the pain of picking up a book again. Sometimes it can really be painful to pick up a book again. I fixed that problem by just reading 3 of them together. So if I don't want to pick this one up, I can just pick the other one up. And if I don't want to pick up the other one, I can just pick up the last one, the third one, right? So in rare cases, I'll have even 4 books, currently reading 4 books. So it did not help that I was reading this with Words of Radiance. But I just wanted to finish it. I forced my way through it because I wanted to have Words of Radiance alone, because I realized I'm never going to have the pain of picking that book up. I'm just going to be very very happy to pick it up. So I realized there was no point. And so this book, I had to really push through it. I had to force through it. The Fifth Sorceress is torture. It is inhumane. Oh my God, there's so much incest. Let's just move on. This book is unredeemable, okay? The next book in this list, okay, the next book in this list, which itself is also torture, has to be Ready Player 2. And I talked about this before, where, the reason why Ready Player 2 was awful, it was because, you see, the author made clear mistakes with Ready Player 1, okay? But instead of actually fixing those mistakes, he ended up making all of them worse. And not only that, but he ended up creating a whole host of new problems that did not even exist before. So how do you classify that? I have no idea. You can try to classify it yourself. But to me, this book also, I just looked up some articles and some interviews, and I talked to some of my friends. And yeah, this book is a cash grab. It was made for money. It shows, man, these people will never learn, man. They just keep making art for money. BS, complete BS. There you go, torture. And next book is Ready Player 1. It's mediocre. Let's move on. Shadow and Bone. This is the next book. I really did not know what to think of Shadow and Bone. First of all, I absolutely abhorred the the character of Alina Starkov, because she had nothing to do. She was she had a lot to do, but she was an uninteresting character. She was tropic because she is the chosen one girl who goes, joins the upper class, right? Not very interesting, and it has been done 100 times before. Another thing is that she was inactive. She was a passive character. The Darkling basically dragged her everywhere. The only time she has agency is when she learns of the nature of the Darkling. After that, she escapes in the wagon of some theatrical group. In the TV show, it's different. She joins she escapes in the wagon of the Dreg, but in the books she escapes in the wagon of some theatrical group. Anyhow, she doesn't really have agency for most of the story, and every time she is either kidnapped or she's on the back of some guy's horse, or she's in a castle, or she was basically a very dull character. She was very difficult to follow, to root for, and to care about. Of course, I didn't want her to die. But she was just boring. And so the reason why I really think this one is half-half, and I don't know what to think of it, is because the protagonist is so bad, but the writing style, the world building, they are so beautiful and they are so good that, I just end up thinking, it was such a wasted opportunity, So it's half-half for me. Okay, so the camera died, but yeah, let's talk about Storm Dancer. Now, you would really think there is something wrong with this book, but generally speaking, there is really nothing inherently wrong with this book. This book is fine. This book is really just, I would say, a fun read if you really think about the plot and the characters. However, it has two major problems that knock it down from fun read and all the way to the ground. Okay, all the way to here. The first problem is how the villain in this story is outlandishly evil. The villain is so outlandishly evil that they make engaging, because you see, J. Kristoff tries to explore a lot of themes, a lot of ideas, and it is very difficult to engage with his ideas when there is an outlandishly evil villain, because it just becomes very easy to vote, generally just vote for the good guys. Okay, so I'm never engaging with the ideas and the themes that he's exploring. Okay, so there you go. The Storm Dance, that is the first big problem with it, and that brings it down to half-half, from fun read to half-half. But something brings it from here down to here. What is that? That is going to have to be the reality that this book is a cultural assassination. It is an insult to anyone from Japan. It literally insults their culture so much, and it uses the culture as a marketing gimmick. And it has to go from half-half all the way to here. In fact, it is worse than Zenith, because Zenith is not insulting people. Zenith is not insulting an entire culture of people. This book is just a joke. Yeah, let's move on. Peace, Preach of Peace. Where do I put this book? First of all, you have to understand with Preach of Peace, I had no expectations for this book whatsoever. It's really insane what lowering your expectations can do for you. Like for Zenith, I expected an average book, but I was surprised when I found a terrible book. For this one, I expected an epic fantasy, right? And I was really disappointed when I found a lot of incest and stuff that didn't make much sense, and a lot of tropic shit. And then Ready Player 2, I expected the author will fix the mistakes from here, but they had nothing, right? This one, I expected it would be, very, very fun to read, but I just ended up really not enjoying it. And there are all of these books I had expectations, but I had no expectations for this one. So I just genuinely just ended up having fun. Yeah. So that's where Preach of Peace sits. I just had a lot of fun reading this book because I was genuinely just surprised by how, Daniel seemed to have not messed up on the basic stuff. The only thing he actually messed up was the character arc in the story. The character arcs that he tries to execute in this story, because I would say mostly because he's inexperienced, they are not really well executed. They're terribly executed. Let's talk about the next bunch of books. First of all, Stormfront, Name of the Wind, and Lord of the Rings. I reread these books. If you want to know where they sit, yes, they all sit here. They all sit here. Okay, the Lord of the Rings obviously is the number one. Now these three books were the surprise of the decade for me. These three books were so good that there are no flaws I can think of. There are no flaws that I deleted a review of Lies of Locke Lamora. Literally, it was just 20 minutes of me talking about how great this book is, how beautiful it is in every regard. And I just ended up sacking that review because I felt there was no nuance in that review. There was just nothing I could add to any conversation. Okay? And generally speaking, this is why I ended up analyzing these books rather than actually reviewing them, because there was so much to analyze. I felt that a review was really not important as much as the analysis. So, but the question is, which one of these three huge books is actually, better? And let's start from the worst to the best among the three best books here. First of all, I would have to say Poppy War is the worst out of these three books. And the primary reason that has to be is because these two books, Prince of Thorns, Lies of Locke Lamora, they are far more, far better structured in terms of plot than Poppy War. Poppy War is all over the place. In fact, I think it switches genres from magical school to military fantasy. It switches genres like that. But Prince of Thorns, Lies of Locke Lamora, they never switch genres. Of course, I think one of the reasons why I love Poppy War is because it does switch genres. It takes risks. It takes risks that most people are not willing to take. However, ultimately, that is going to have to be a deciding factor. Okay? That is going to be a deciding factor. You have to understand this is literally in my top 10 fantasy books. It's not bad. So it's going to have to be here, number one. Okay? Then the next thing is going to have to be which one of these two books is worse. I would have to say Prince of Thorns is worse than Lies of Locke Lamora. And the reason why it is worse than Lies of Locke Lamora is because of the villain. The villain Grey King, between these two books, of course, Jorg's uncle is a very good villain, right? However, he doesn't come close to the Grey King. The Grey King is a remarkably beautiful villain for Lies of Locke Lamora. I'm sorry, it just is that way. So, Prince of Thorns goes here. And the best book I read this year, without any doubt, is actually this book, Lies of Locke Lamora. In fact, it is so good, it is going to have to upgrade to here. It is better than The Name of the Wind. It is better than the first book in the Dresden Files. In fact, both of these two books are still better than both of these two books. The Prince of Thorns is going to be here, then this. So the best book I read is, of course, Lord of the Rings, then Lies of Locke Lamora, Prince of Thorns, The Poppy War, then The Name of the Wind, then the Stormfront first book. This was a surprise fun read. This was a disappointing half-half because of the protagonist. This is Ready Player One. It was a mediocre read, to be honest. Nothing was disappointing because, you either are here or you are above here. Nothing is here. And then Torture, The Fifth Sorceress, Ready Player 2, PS made for Satan. Yep, Satan worshippers. This is what they made. It's complete garbage. These two books need to be actually recalled. They are actively harming the reputation of the authors. These two books are just terrible. This one is a mediocre one, but it's actually, I can see people having it here. Okay. And then this one, I can see people putting it here. And this one, I can see people putting it here, 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 and here. I can't see people putting it here. Breach of Peace is just not good to compete with these books here. It is not even 1/1,000,000th the way. Okay, so that is going to be it for this tier list video. I had a lot of fun making this. I hope that you enjoyed. If you did enjoy, please consider subscribing and tell me any of your favorite books. I'll gladly read them. All right, have a nice day. Bye.